6/9 now. Didn't make any mistakes there, did we? Hey folks, welcome, and welcome out there to Tea and Learn Mathline Summer School Style. We are loving it this summer, going back and doing a little bit of remediation skills and helping you out getting ready for the fall of next year when you all go back to school in August. Yes, I'm Ernie Roberts, I'm your host this afternoon's session. Little remediation, we've been working the times tables already this summer. We're getting good at multiplying because they're good for fractions, and that's where we're going to be going today, getting us closer and closer to working with those fractional operations. I want you to understand, be able to wrap your hands around these numbers and realize they aren't that intimidating. They aren't that scary. Sometimes when you hear fractions, you freak out, all right? No freaky fractions, all right? We're just going to have some good ones today. The benchmark fractions looks like we're coming away. Let's see if I'm right about that, guys. What do we got for our topic today? We are going to look for benchmark fractions. And first of all, what are our benchmark fractions? Well, we know what fractions look like. They have numerators and denominators, and like some of you really get nervous about them because you really don't quite understand what those are standing for. It's just another way to write division. So let's take a look, and we're going to do some dividing, some basic dividing with physical looks, with a ruler, and not just per se a ruler, but we're going to stretch it out. We're going to stretch it out because you can follow it along home. By the way, we always suggest get pencil, paper, and I don't know that you'll need a calculator today, but definitely have some pencil and paper and write along and do the exercises as we go through them together. Makes it easier for you to stay with me for a good period of time, for about 20, 25 more minutes, but also it gets you a hand-on feel. You're taking care of business along with it. So let's see what our first little ruler moment is about, all right? You can understand what I'm talking about. We're going to make it kind of looks like a number line. It has a beginning and an end, so it's really not a line. It's more like a segment, all right? It's got pieces, so if you'll notice, we're going to have a number from 0 out here to 1. So we're going to see this is basically spreading out, stretching out maybe an inch, maybe a foot, maybe all sorts of different things, all right? When we think of rulers, that's what we think of inches and feet or centimeters or things like that. It's just basically like a little number line, but a piece of it, if you will. And we're going to work the fractional pieces along the way. Now, I've already tried to divide it, so you all at home, if you will, go ahead and draw yourself a good long stretch there. Give you some room. Give yourself some space here. I basically have the way mine worked out, it turned out to be 4 inches long here, all right? That's pretty nice. You may want to make it a little bit longer, all right? But anyhow, go with that. The reason I like 4 inches is because I can divide it into eighths and fourths and halves, all sorts of good things so easily. So easily. You see how it's going to work. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and give you, while you're marking yours, I'm going to remark mine over here. All these little guys here are increments. And notice they all have the same basic equal space between them. We divided this into, let's count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 options. And then you say, Ernie, how do you make sure they're going to work right? I look for the middle, okay? I go for the middle, and then I split between the middle and an edge, and you keep splitting on that, especially when you're dealing with eighths, all right? Because you start with 2 sections, big sections, then you can make 4, 2 on both sides, then you can get 4 and 4 on both sides, split those, and you're down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sections. Now, we're going to put some numbers on those. We want to represent where we are. Notice I said we started with 0, and we ended up at 1. You say, well, Ernie, how does that work? Why are we at 1? Let's see, all right? Let's start it at 1/8, right there. That's where we are. We have gone 1/8 of the way to the end, all right? 1 out of 8 blocks, all right? Here we go. Our next one is going to be 2/8. 2/8, all right? The next one, let's see if I can make that just a little bit larger. 3/8 for you guys at home. About it. 4/8, and ironically, that's in the middle, isn't it? Because 4 is right in between 0 and 1. Well, no, but there's something about 4/8 that is right in between 0 and 1. So let's keep counting. We'll go to 5/8 right there, 6/8, and finally, you got 7/8. And you know what? If I wrote 8/8, I would be at 1, right? Because 8, remember I said divided by at the beginning? So 8 divided by 8 gives you 1. So that's what we're doing. we're counting how many eighths. We went from 0 to first eighth, which is 1/8. Now, you go from 0 and you move over 2/8. That's where we're marking these, all right? So you add one more, you add another one, and another one. You get the idea. Now, some of you are going like, oh, Ernie, that's not hard. It isn't. It isn't. That's what we want you to see. We want you to see that this is what dividing things into eighths looks like. It looks like a ruler, because a lot of your rulers are only divided into eighths. Some of them go as far as the 16th. If you're on centimeters, you're going to see them dividing into millimeters. Did I say all that right? Yeah, I did. Which will be 10 millimeters in each centimeter. You'll see little 10 ticks. So we're going to look at those types of rulers today that we use, the eighths, 16ths. And also I want us to understand what happens when we have twelfths, because guess what? They're 12 inches in a foot. And that's an important measurement also when we're working with a ruler, because then the ruler has a full foot. All right. So let's take a look at these numbers. Can you reduce them? Some of you are wondering, is this where we have to worry about reducing our fractions? Well, let's not make this difficult. All right. Let's make this sensible. All right. First of all, 1/8, this little guy right there, is in good shape. Good shape. All right. This one, however, 2/8, they're both even numbers. So we can divide 2 into both those and reduce it down. So we're at 1/4, or 1/4. Or 1 divided by 4. Yes, they're all divisions. This one, can't reduce it any. There we go. Now, sometimes people want to know, is 1/4 bigger than 3/8? Well, obviously it's not, because look, 1/4 went from 0 to 2/8. 3/8 went a little bit farther, actually one more eighth over. All right. So that's another thing. A lot of times when these things change denominators and numerators because we reduce them, a lot of times we get a little nervous about that because we aren't quite sure we picture what's a fourth versus 3/8. All right? Come back to your number line. Come back to your number line. Let's take a look at this 4/8, or 4/8, or 4 divided by 8. Oh, so many ways that we read those, aren't there? 4 is the numerator, 8 is the denominator. Always want to get our terminology right there, okay? And you can divide 4 into both of those numbers. It's going to give us, you got it, 1/2. Y'all know where we're going, right? Because 4 divided by 4 goes 1, and 4 into 8 goes 2. Now, you don't want to lose. You got to keep that 1 up there just like we did over here. We had 1/4. We got to keep 1/2. Never do you let the numerator disappear. Your denominator might do it sometimes, but not the numerator, okay? Got to keep it. All right, 5/8, not going anywhere. That's as good as we get on that. Now let's take a look at 6 and 8. Both of those are even numbers, right? Both of those are even. So if you divide 2 into both of those, you're going to get 3/4. You getting the idea now? Now, hey, fourths are easy, right? Think of those like quarters, $1. All right, 1/4 is 1/4. All right, 2/4 or 1/2 of $1. All right, 3/4, you know, 75 cents or 3 of those quarters. That's 3/4 of $1. It's so much nicer. I think when you talk money, you just get it so easily. All right, and then how about this little guy here? 7/8 doesn't go anywhere. All right, 7/8 is right between though 3/4 and 1. By the way, 1 is the result of, remember what I said, 8/8. And that's where you come up with your 1, all right? So you do 8/8 divided by, all right? So what are we interested in? The numbers that we will be interested in, of course, obviously 0 is 0. It could be 0/8, but it's still 0, not 8. It's going to be 0/8 is simply 0. 1/8 comes there. Here we go to 1/4. 3/4, got a 1/2. 5/8 stays alone. Down to 3/4 or 3/4. 7/8 hanging on, and by the way, we had 8/8, but remember that'll reduce down to 1, because once again, remember it's a division. 8 divided by 8, bang, number divided by itself. Any number divided by itself gives you 1. So that's what we're looking at. We're going to play with the rulers in that respect. So I hope that makes it work for you. Hope you've gotten that written down at home there, and reducing your fractions, but keep them both there, because if that helps you picture, oh, why is 1/2 between 3/8 and 5/8? Because it's really 4/8, all right? That's what I want you to see today. Where are these all hanging out, relatively speaking? Because that will make you enjoy your fractions, at least appreciate them a little bit more, all right? Especially when we start working some operations on them. So let's see what we've got coming up next. Now remember I said let's divide, that one's divided into eighths. Whew. Can we tighten it up a little bit? Let's go for 16ths. Woo! That's a lot of division here, all right? So let's see here. Go ahead and draw your home ruler, your ruler at home, your home ruler, however you want to call that. Wow. And let me see, what have I got? I got to count, make sure I got 16 of them here. Again, just simply use those, guess what? A 4-inch ruler, and divide. Your quarters are going to be 1st inch, 2nd inch, 3rd inch, and then 4th inch finishes it up. Then use the 1/2 inch marks to get 1/8, and then those 1/4 inches will get you to the 16ths. And by the way, usually that's the way you see a ruler is marked out in 16ths, all right? Sometimes, again, like I said, they'll just be in 1/8 because there's just not enough room to put all those little ticks, all right? But on this one, we're stretching it. We're going to stretch it a little bit. Dilated, nice word for it, all right? So here we go. We're at 0, going up to 1. And what does that do for us? Because that's, remember, that's 16 out of 16. So let's make sure I did it right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's the halfway point. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and we're at 16. So once again, that ruler is awesome to be able to work that way. So let's start playing with this thing some. This is 1/16. Can't do anything with that, can we? Can't reduce that. That's a small smidgen, all right, when you look at that. Think about 1/16 of an inch or 1/16 of a whole. It's small. It's small. A little bit larger, we're going to put 1/8 right up there, 1/8 right up above it, all right? Now, our next little moment here is what? 3/16. 3/16, right there we go. Now, when we're playing with 3/16, the next one is 4/16. Whoa, look at 4/16. It's going to work out to, you guessed it. Did you guess it? They're both even, right? So that means 2/8. And 2/8 we learned just a minute ago goes back to 1/4. So this one is going to actually come out to 1/4 when it simplifies. So here we go. 1/16, 1/8, 3/16, and now we got 1/4. Let's keep playing it on down the line here. Here we go. Right here, 5/16. 5/16. There we go. Next one, how about it? 6/16 or 6/16. That's going to become 8s because look, we can divide both by, you got it, both by 2. They're even, aren't they? So let's put 3/8 right there. Okay? So we got 1/4, now we got 3/8. We're cooking, folks, we are. Move along here, we've got 7/16. Now, and you say, Ernie, why aren't you doing anything underneath with those 1, 3, 5, 7? Because there's no numbers that will divide into both those, are they? So we have to leave them as 16ths. Leave them as 16ths. Here's a big moment right there because that is 8/16. And that's a big moment. Why is it a big moment? Because it's 1/2. It is 1/2. Notice 8 is half of 16. So there are your reduced fraction moments. Now, 1/8. Some of you said, Ernie, how'd you get 1/8 over there? Because you didn't really mark it, did I? I really didn't. Kind of snuck that in on us. That's like 2 out of 16, isn't it? 2/16, which reduces to 1/8. So that is a little bit of a reduction. So notice when we have the even numbers over 16, we've got reducing going on. We can bring it down. We can call it 2/16, 4/16, 6/16, 8/16, and so forth. But we always like to see those fractions reduced because smaller pieces become more of our benchmark. Our benchmarks are like 1/2, 1/4, and we had those the last time. And now our 8ths are becoming more like benchmarks because now we know where to put the 16ths appropriately there, all right? So let's take a look at our next little moment here. How about it? You got it. After 8 comes 9, so 9/16. Let's kick up a 10/16 up here at the top. And that reduces down to, how about it, 5/8. Keep working them. We've got 11/16. Not going anywhere, is it? But it is between 5/8 and whatever this next creature is going to be. Let's see what happens. We've got what, 12? 12/16. And that's a number that 4 will go into both of those, right? 4 into 12, 3. 4 into 16, 4. So we're going to have 3/4. Now we're kicking. Looking good, looking good. And you got it. You know what's coming up here. 13/16. It's not going to reduce anywhere, is it? Our next one, getting close to the end now. We're up to 14 of these creatures. 14/16. By the way, folks, that's going to take us up to 7/8. I'm going to get a number here in a minute. How about it? 7/8 right there, okay? So now notice your eighths here. They're in pretty good rhythm. Notice there's 3/8, 5/8, and now 7/8, and we had 1/8 back here. Put it back in the blue. Then here's your fourth, your big benchmarks. Your 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and I got one more to go. Got one more to go. How about it? 15/16, and we know that last one is 16 out of 16. That's what we're talking about. So the benchmarks here, how about it? 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, spread out evenly in those increments. The benchmarks in between there, how about it? Eighths, 1, 3, 5, 7/8. You can spot your other things around through there. So that's our story here. First of all, eighths and sixteenths. So let's go to our next one here. All right, guys, let's take it away just a second. I mentioned the metric moments where we talk about everything in terms of 10. We're in a base 10 system. So let's work on the tenths. This one's not so hard, not so hard. Broken it down into, wow, 10 little increments here. We'll start right here on the edge at 0, and we'll go up to 1. Let you all have a chance to draw a new ruler there. And, you know, 5 of them is going to be in the middle. All right, there's going to be 5 out of 10. That'll be in the middle at 1/2. Then space it out. Use your eyeballs a little bit there. Or if you've got a good old ruler with centimeters on it, works out great. Just put 10 centimeters down there and block them off. Really nice, isn't it? That's the beauty of metric, by the way. Everything's based on 10. Everything's based on 10. And then inside those 10 centimeters, guess what? You're going to have, well, each of those centimeters, you're going to have 10 millimeters, all right? And you can break those. That breaks down evenly also. That's the beauty. Like I said, the beauty of metric. But let's take a look at what we've got going on here. We have 1/10, which isn't going to go anywhere, right? Isn't going to go anywhere. Put a little dot there. And here we got 2/10. Now 2/10, remember we got even numbers. Remember I said something about evens? A lot of times they like to reduce, especially when we're dividing by even numbers, all right? And 2 will go into both of these, which will give us 1/5. So there's our first change right there. So 2/10 goes to 1/5. Again, just reducing and simplifying, but that's where 1/5 is. Sometimes people think, 1/10, that 10's bigger than the 5, so that must be bigger. No, it isn't. Notice it's half the size, okay? So that's from 0 to 1/10. Now we're at 0 to 1/5. It does make a difference, all right? Because that's 2/10. 2/10 is a tenth and a tenth added together. Now, let's go to our next little moment here. Let's go to our next moment here. I do have it coming up here. 3/10. Can't do anything with 3/10, can we? It's an odd number, and 10 just got 2 and 5 that are going to work anyway with it, and we're kind of stuck on that. So we hang there. Let's go to 4/10. Again, both numbers are even. We can reduce that down to 2/5. Now notice what's happening here. 1/5, 2/5. Guess what? In a minute we're going to have a 3/5 and a 4/5, and the last one comes out to be 1. All right, yeah, 5/5 or 10/10. Let's see where we're going. How about it? We got 5/10. And notice we got a 5 and a 10 there. You say, well, Ernie, what's that going to give us? That's going to give us, woohoo, 1/2. So that's an important benchmark right there. Halfway point, 5/10. Keep kicking. Keep kicking with me. We've got 6/10. I'm going to put them right up here. And you circle those because those are big ones there. Here we go. We've got 3/5 going right here. Right there above it. There you have it. So you see where we're going? Each time, each of these is worth 1/10. They're evenly spaced. Keep working down the line. How about it? 7/10. I like that. Won't reduce, will it? Let's put an 8/10 up here. And that will give us 4/5. Notice we're almost complete here. We got 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, and 4/5. Last but not least, how about it? We got 9/10. We're almost home to the 1. And, of course, here we would have had 10/10. And that's how we get back to our 1 there. So that matches up. So those are your numbers. When we divide these into tenths, it's all about location here. Notice we got fifths. There's 3/10, 2/5, 1/2 right in the middle. Then everything above that, 3/5. See, 3 is more than half of 5. All right? So it should be to the greater than side. 7/10. That's more than half of 10. Okay, so it's also to the right. So this is another way you start beginning to see where do you put these different fractions on a number line in the space, all right? That's what makes this really cool. And also, it's not just like, hey, they're just a bunch of random numbers there, all right? We do abandon that. It's like, we don't want to deal with them. They have some order. They have some representation. They work well together. They play very well, right? All right, now tenths. I said promise twelfths, right? So let's go to twelfths here. Let's divide that ruler into 12. So go ahead and draw you another ruler. You know how to make a foot. Maybe make 6 inches this time, all right? The way we can split it up pretty nicely into inches and then half inches. I couldn't quite spread it out that much, but let's see what we've got. We have, again, from 0 to 1, we should have 12 equal sections here. We decided to put this into 12ths, all right? And again, notice what I did each time since I count those. By the way, you want to make sure I've got them right. I know. Everyone said, you're going to count them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and there's 12. So we got 12 equal sections here. So let's start working it like we've done our other rulers, all right? 1/12, right there it is. Above it, how about it? 2/12. I'm going to go ahead and put all the 12ths down here, and then we'll reduce, all right? How about the next one? 3/12. Now some of you are going, Ernie, that's an odd number. And it's going to reduce. Exactly, all right? You got to be aware. 3 is a different ball game with 12, all right? 12 is a different thing. Now 10, all we could worry about if it had to be divisible by 2 or 5, all right? And when it came down to 8ths and 16ths, it was really nice because we were looking for 2, 4, 6, 8, those kind of things that would divide in evenly. But now we've got something different going on. So just hang on, hang on. Above that, we have 4/12. And so you're going, ooh, that's going to do some good stuff. It will, it will. Down here we got 5/12. Now 5/12, that's not going to reduce. That's not going to reduce anywhere. What about our next one? How about it? Let's go to 6/12. We'll fix it in just a minute because remember it's a halfway point and 6 is half of 12. All right, so that's what we're going to be looking at, a reducing point there. Benchmark, actually a lot of different kind of benchmarks running through here, okay? Benchmark fractions. Keep working with me. 7/12. 7/12. Because keep in mind, we're just adding 1 each time. 8/12. Oh, both of those are even, so we know something's going to work there. Actually, something pretty cool happens there. Down below, keep the odd numbers, 9/12. That's going to reduce also. How about it? How about it's going to reduce also? Keep the evens on top. How about it? 10/12. That'll reduce. Whew. You know, there are a lot of numbers that divide into 12 evenly. That's why we're getting all these options that we're going to see reducing. And here we have 11/12. And why did I put a 12 there? That should be just 1, shouldn't it? That's going to be 12/12. We'll just go ahead and make that 12/12, which equals 1. So let's see, because I was counting 12 increments, wasn't I? You all knew what I was doing. Now let's fix this thing. Reduce, reduce, reduce. All right. We have 2/12, which gives us 1/6. Woohoo! All right. Now we're at 5. We're at we got to do 3, don't we? Because 3/12 will reduce. That's going to give us 1/4. Ooh, another benchmark. In fact, 1/6 is a good benchmark. Think about rolling the die. 6 numbers on the good old number cube or the die. And there you go. Increments of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here we're at 12, like inches on a ruler, okay? What about the little 4/12 up there? Reduces down to 1/3, another great benchmark moment. 5/12 hangs in there just like it is, but now you know where 5/12 is. You know where 1/12 hangs out. 6/12, got a 1/2. Right there in the middle, right there. So you see where we are, 1/6, 1/3, and then boom, 1/2. Lots of little benchmark moments, all right? Move over to the other side, 7/12 isn't going anywhere. But 8/12 will reduce down to, 4 divides into both of those, right? 4 goes into both of those. Let's put a 2/3 right there. Life is good. 9/12. My goodness, it will give us 3/4. So there are a couple of moments where we had those 2 odd numbers, 3 and 9, but that's because they're divisible by 3, as is 12. 10/12, both even. Whew, let's go with it. How about it? 5/6. 5/6, there you go. And we've already done, 11/12 isn't going anywhere. And we've already done that 12/12 because I got a little carried away. And that gives us 1. All right. So there's your ruler into 12ths. Now think about that. If you want to say, 9 inches is what part of a foot? That's 9/12. So 3/4. Benchmark moment, all right? 6 inches out of 12. 1/2. Another benchmark moment. How about 4 out of 12? 1/3. That's another benchmark when we divide things into thirds. 1/3 and 2/3. Benchmark fractions are, folks, the fractions that you can see and visualize very easily. I struggle with 7/12, but I know it's somewhere between 1/2 and, what's the next one? 2/3, somewhere in there, because that's what it works, between 6/12 and 8/12. Story of benchmark fractions there to help you kind of get a feel for the fractions that aren't so pretty, aren't so cool, all right, where they're located. But thank you for being located with us today. Here tuned into T and Learn Mathline. We'll be back again next time with some more work in fractions and summer school and have some good times. We'll see you then.